Octagon houses spark a certain fascination in American architectural history. With their eight-sided plans, wraparound verandas, and often domed roofs, they stand out in a landscape dominated by square and rectangular homes. Though their origins trace back to ancient times, their heyday in the United States was surprisingly brief, spanning roughly from the mid-19th century to the early 20th century. Today, people might find them curious, even whimsical. But behind their distinctive shape is the story of one persuasive promoter who championed their appeal. The historical roots of octagonal homes. While we could discuss ancient and European precedents for octagonal homes, it's enough to note that the shape has appeared in human architecture for thousands of years. One early example is the Tower of the Winds in Athens, built sometime between 100 to 50 BC as a sophisticated time-measuring instrument. Later, during the 17th and 18th centuries, Dutch colonists in New York and New Jersey built octagonal churches reflecting architectural traditions from their homeland. Meanwhile, Thomas Jefferson subtly embraced the octagon when designing Poplar Forest, an eight-sided retreat house he began building in 1806 in Lynchburg, Virginia. Though Jefferson's home didn't directly inspire the 19th century octagon house boom, it foreshadowed the fascination that would sweep across America in later decades. The man behind the octagon movement, the person most responsible for popularizing octagon houses in America, was Orson Squire Fowler. Interestingly, Fowler wasn't an architect. He was actually a phrenologist, a now discredited pseudoscience that claimed skull shape could determine personality traits. Despite the flaws in his scientific work, Fowler was charismatic and persuasive, with a natural talent for public speaking and marketing. In 1848, he published The Octagonal Mode, followed by an expanded book titled The Octagon House, A Home for All, or a new, cheap, convenient, and superior mode of building. Fowler's book was part technical guide, part inspiration, promoting eight-sided homes as efficient, healthier, and even cheaper to build than conventional square or rectangular houses. The logic behind the octagonal design. Fowler's basic claim was simple. If you take a string, mark a circular foundation, and square it off twice, you'll end up with an eight-sided structure essentially mimicking a circle. He argued that an octagonal home would provide more interior space for the same perimeter length while improving ventilation and sunlight exposure. He also advocated for gravel wall or concrete construction, but in reality, many octagon homes were built with wood or brick instead. According to Fowler, a central staircase was unnecessary instead. He suggested using wraparound verandas to move between rooms. While this idea worked well in warmer climates, it was much less practical in colder regions, where stepping outside to access another room was inconvenient at best and freezing at worst. Construction challenges and practical limitations. Though Victorian-era builders in the 1850s and 1860s were already used to incorporating angled bays and intricate corners into homes, transitioning to an eight-sided structure wasn't always easy. While Fowler insisted that octagonal walls captured more natural light and regulated temperature better, real-world execution had challenges. The shape forced some rooms into odd triangular corners, and constructing a proper staircase was difficult, especially if homeowners wanted an open central space or planned to use the wraparound porch for movement between rooms. A short-lived architectural trend. From about 1850 to 1870, enthusiasm for octagonal houses spread rapidly, particularly in New York's Hudson River Valley, where Fowler lived, New England, the Midwest, and even parts of Canada. Thousands of these houses were built. Some were modest and simple, while others were lavish mansions. However, by the 1870s, octagon houses began to fall out of favor. More traditional Victorian-era styles with their gables, turrets, and elaborate trim became the architectural preference of the time. Famous examples of octagon houses. Let's take an in-depth look at some of the most famous octagonal homes in America. Poplar Forest, the earliest octagon home. Before Fowler's book popularized the octagonal trend, Thomas Jefferson's Poplar Forest, built in 1806, was one of the earliest examples of an eight-sided residence in America. Jefferson used it as a private retreat, meticulously planning each angle and facade. Today, Poplar Forest is a National Historic Landmark, with ongoing restoration efforts to return it to Jefferson's original vision. Longwood, America's largest octagonal mansion. Heading to Natchez, Mississippi, we find Longwood, often called Nuts Folly. Designed in 1859 by architect Samuel Sloan for cotton planter Haller Nutt, it remains the largest octagonal mansion in the United States. Construction stopped in 1861 due to the Civil War, leaving the upper floors unfinished. Today, Longwood operates as a house museum, preserving its unique mix of completed and unfinished spaces. The Armour Steiner House, the most spectacular Octagon home, perched atop a hill overlooking the Hudson River. In Irvington, New York, the Armour Steiner House, built in 1860, is one of the most visually striking Octagon homes ever constructed. Expanded in the 1870s by tea importer Joseph Steiner, it features a large dome, elaborate Victorian detailing, and unique architecture. Today, it remains the only fully domed octagonal residence still standing. The Fraser Presley House, a unique variation, in Abbeville, South Carolina. The Fraser Presley House, built between 1852 and 1856, features 3 interconnected octagonal sections linked by a central hallway. This stuccoed brick home is believed to be one of the only homes with this unique layout in the country. Why didn't octagon houses remain popular? While Fowler believed octagon houses were superior in every way, practical issues prevented them from becoming a mainstream housing style. Difficult to furnish, wedge-shaped rooms made furniture placement awkward. Construction complexities, building angled walls and complex roofs required skilled craftsmanship. Weather challenges. In cold regions, needing to use exterior verandas for movement between rooms was impractical. Changing architectural trends. By the late 19th century, Victorian-style homes with gables, turrets, and detailed ornamentation had replaced the octagonal trend, the legacy of octagon homes. Although octagon houses never became a lasting trend, they remain a fascinating part of American architectural history. Enthusiasts today still seek out preserved examples, marveling at their geometry and innovative design. These homes remind us of a time when architectural experimentation flourished, a period where builders, inspired by unconventional ideas, dared to push boundaries. What do you think? Would you want to live in an octagonal house? Do you think Fowler's ideas should have caught on more widely? Let me know in the comments. And while you're here, make sure to subscribe.